welcome to Traveling Inside Out. This is Alina, your host. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the podcast that explores the world within and out. Thank you for everybody joining me. I'm recording live just as a surprise. Season 7 of Traveling Inside Out is back. There's a lot to talk about. So I'm just going to say hello to everybody, especially the ones who are listening or watching this later on. I need to fix my microphone. You would think that after so many seasons, I would have done this earlier than when I started, right? Yeah, no, I'm not doing that, am I? Oh boy, it's like the first time. No, it's not. It's not quite like the first time, but I also feel like, okay, there we go. Hello, hi, everybody. Um, I'm just going to see. Okay, there we go. Hello, everybody. Yes, season 7 is back. But for those who just joined, I realized that I had this podcast for so long, and maybe there are some new listeners. So, the first thing that I want to do is to reintroduce myself. Hi, my name is Alina. As it says even in the intro, I am a Transylvanian, born and raised in Transylvania, Romania, and I currently live in Brooklyn, New York. This is the sixth country I live in. I had lived before in Denmark, in Tunisia, Turkey, Tunisia. Uh, what else? I forget. Iceland and now United States. There are the countries. There we go. I have talked about my experiences in the other countries. I have talked about my life as an immigrant, especially because I started the podcast back in 2018 when I was still living in Iceland. Then I moved back and forth, and then finally managed to find my partner in United States. He was waiting for me in Brooklyn. Who knew? I didn't know back then, and now I live in Brooklyn. I have talked about my life as an immigrant. I have talked also about my experiences as an exchange student. I talked about being worker in a salmon factory. I usually share things about my life and about my experiences and about my travels. So the title of Traveling Inside Out comes from what I haven't said that back then when I started the podcast, but I have been having this tagline for a few years now, which is your outer journey begins with inner work, with the work within. I strongly believe that. I believe that no matter whatever you experience and you want to experience outside of you, it would always come back to who you are as a person and how much you know yourself deep within. So I started the podcast because I wanted to talk to people about my travels and how, even though I have all sorts of anxieties. I have been diagnosed like 3 or 4 times already because keep changing the doctors with generalized anxiety, and yet I still managed to do, for example, the biggest trip of my life so far. That was over 8 months of traveling, backpacking in South America. And I was a solo traveler at the time. Currently, I am married. um, so the podcast changed from just sharing my travels, even though I have anxiety, and the silly choices that I made, the mistakes that I made. How do you navigate in a world as a solo female traveler? So all of that changed, and the last season I've shared a lot of my upbringing and my friends Andra that joined me as a monthly guest, and in the end it ended up to be the only episode that I was putting out. We shared our upbringing and cultural differences that we have, even though we are both born and raised in Romania, and then also sharing travel bits. So, for those who are interested in just basically, it's a journal, it's more of a journal. So if you are interested in learning about other people's lives, about maybe some tips and tricks from different travels, maybe some digging a bit more in depth about mental health, please come along for the ride. I have also, last year I have been finally diagnosed with ADHD, which is still something I'm learning quite a lot about, and I'm learning how to navigate that as well, as someone who, I knew that I was struggling with something throughout my life and I never knew exactly what it was. So now that I do, what do I do with that? So if you are interested in learning about that aspect as well, and I'm not one of those people who already know a lot about ADHD, who already know the tips and tricks, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to understand how I can use this to my advantage, because I feel that a lot of times I have worked against it. So if you are also interested in that, please join me. And the last thing that I want to say is that I will still probably have Andra as a guest from time to time. She's traveling at the time. Currently, she's traveling. So I'm not sure that she will have the time or if the internet is good enough. But eventually, I'm going to have Andra as well. In the past, I had um, guests in which I was talking a lot about. Um, I was talking about leaving or going outside of your comfort zone, because it was very important for me to talk about exploring the world and doing things outside of your world, up until I realized that I was kind of lying to myself about my comfort zone. And maybe I'm gonna go get back into having guests, but last year I've been having so many issues with the internet connection that I don't want to bring guests back until I have something very settled. And speaking about something very settled, I was speaking with Andra, the last episode that we were talking about was back in December. Or yeah, back in December. Was it in January? I don't even remember. But we talked last time about the possibility of me moving. We are not moving currently. We were supposed to have been moved by now, which is not going to happen. So the moving might happen somewhere end of summer this year, if it's happening at all. So I decided to start the podcast, because initially I said that I'm going to start the podcast in March, and because I thought at the time that I'm going to be moving, and I was hoping that I can create another corner of a studio for my podcast. I'm just being very honest, because this is another thing that is very important for me. I have been nothing but honest in this podcast, sometimes maybe a little bit too honest. Um, the the conversations about politics and all of that, I'm trying to stay away from it, not from the idea that it's not important, because it is important, and we are living some very uncertain times. And I know ever since after the pandemic we kept saying that there are uncertain times, but we are currently in some, I would argue, some unprecedented times. So as much as this is going to affect our day-to-day lives, I don't want to get into it too much. Because I'm trying for my podcast to be just a breather from all of the bad news and scary things that are happening all around us. And secondly, because I personally would get very overwhelmed, and I'm also trying to have a moment of respiro and escaping from the world. I'm not hiding from it, because I live in this world. So on the side, I'm trying to keep informed and trying to do the best that I can, that I'm not supporting people that I truly don't believe in. Um, and so probably we are going to mention few things each and there, but in reality, I'm trying to stay away from all of this. Another thing that I need to mention is that this podcast is available on YouTube and on Spotify and a lot of like tens more of places where you listen to podcasts. But on Spotify, I have also made playlists. So if you are interested in listening to my mental health takes and speaking about going to therapy, going to different doctors. Oh, wow. I don't know if you were able to get that because my microphone is decent, but there was a extremely loud motor things, and that's one of the things that I was hoping that is going to happen when we move. We were supposed to move away from my window facing the actual very busy road in Brooklyn. Anyway, I interrupted myself. Yeah, so I made playlists on Spotify. I have to update them a little. But if you are interested in just listening specific podcast episodes, you can also go ahead and do that. So I made a specific playlist for all of the conversations I had with Andra, and I'm calling it like the global tea walk, TikTok, because we always used to have some tea. So this is just that was just perfect. Then I made a separate playlist in which I'm talking about mental health when the motor bike interrupted me. Then I made another playlist regarding my immigration stories, or being, I was an immigrant in all of the countries, because I'm considering an immigrant someone who lives there with the purpose to live there, even if it's a short period of time. I paid taxes, except as a student. I guess I didn't pay taxes per se, but I did had the residency. Like I had the stamp and everything, the residency in Turkey. So if you are interested in that, you can also listen to that playlist. I'm going to add all of those playlists in my YouTube description, and I'm going to add it to uh, the podcast episode notes description. Whatever you're gonna listen to this episode, that's where it's going to, you can click, or you can simply, I guess go to Spotify and search for Traveling Inside Out. um okay, so that being said, I think this is a good time. Let me see if I know how to do this anymore. Yeah, this is a good time to say that I do have a website, and the website is working. It's just that I haven't updated in a while, but you can still go and read my. I wrote about every single country that I've been in, and unfortunately, the numbers stop at 30, maybe 31 if we consider the Bahamas when I went on the cruise. Um, so you can go ahead and read that. I'm planning at some point this year to go back into writing, because that was actually making me happy. What wasn't making me happy was the collection of all of the pictures and then editing them to be able to add them on the website and all that. So I would probably need an assistant if I just want to do the writing, and somebody can deal with the pictures from what I want to share. And then when it comes to the YouTube channel, it's again my name, Alina, Igrad. You can find on YouTube. Mostly I have added shorts, which is um, something that I want to continue to do, but I'm also trying to get back in making long format videos. So maybe again, I need help with that as well. Um, you can go ahead and follow me. Obviously, if you're watching this on YouTube, then just make sure you subscribe, click the bell, do all of the YouTube things. Um, so yes, and then again, if you are on YouTube, this is Traveling Inside Out, and you can find it anywhere and everywhere. So that being said, um, something that I started to do, I think last year, was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't even remember. When I was recording the podcast episodes with Andra, I was um, recommending something every month. We would have a recommendation of the month. I think it was, um, I think it was called. Um, Monthly wonders or something like that. And so, because today is 20th of February and today this TV show will come out, I'm going to recommend Zero Day. It's coming out today on Netflix. It is the first time ever when Robert De Niro is joining a TV show. It's a limited series. It's a political thriller, uh, kind of a show. As I said, it's coming out on Netflix. And Robert De Niro, obviously, he's also the producer of the movie, of the TV series. So it says a former US president is called out of retirement to find the source of a deadly cyber attack, only to discover a vast web of lies and conspiracies. The reason why um, the reason why I am recommending this is because I worked for this specific TV show. Um, and this is something else that I want to talk. Ever since I started the podcast, I have lived. So I lived in Iceland, and I moved back to Romania. Then I moved back to Iceland. Then I moved to United States, and I want to talk a little bit about during all this time what were my jobs. I have been working for a film festival that I'm very proud to be part of, Transylvania International Film Festival, since 2010. In 2010 I was a volunteer, and then starting 2011 I worked for the film festival, with the exception of like 3 years when I wasn't able to make it, because I was living in Iceland at the time. And so this year is going to be 15 years since I started being with the festival. And I started as a volunteer, then an assistant, coordinator, and all that. So now finally I worked in the department of print and traffic, and I'm the coordinator of basically materials that are coming our ways. I'm not going to get too much into that. Alongside with that, throughout since I started the podcast until now, I had all sort of different jobs. I worked as a production assistant. I in film production. I worked as a content manager for a, a car rental place. I worked as a night receptionist for a hotel, and I worked in events. I worked as an event producer. I have worked in just like a staff member in other events happening in New York. And I've worked as a background actor. And this was why I was on set. I cannot wait for more movies slash TV shows to come out, because I don't think that I was on camera. I know for a fact that I was on camera for one, for sure. The rest of them, I don't think I was on camera, because I'm also trying not to be on camera. I'm so shy, like I don't want, and especially if they, like I need to be acting, right? And I'm so bad at this that hope nobody's gonna hear me, but I am like truly trying to stay away from the camera, or from the camera to not be in my face, because I'm gonna start bursting in laughing. That's what I'm so scared of. I didn't say this to anyone. I do say to people that I'm just trying to stay behind, because I don't like for the camera to be in my face. So I'm not sure that I was on camera. I was part of the episode 1 of Zero Day, and then I think also episode 4. I have shot in total, I think, like 5 days in different scenarios. It was an insane day. For those interested, I can record another podcast episode in which I'm talking more about my experience as a background person in general, because obviously I'm not allowed to say too much, but I can talk about how tiring it can get. This specific shoot, which is you're going to see if you're going to watch, uh, it was just, it was so miserable, it was so miserable, and we were there for so many hours, forever. It felt like forever. But in what world, my first role ever as a background person, I have Robert De Niro just a few steps away from me. Like there were people between us, but like a few steps away from me, and him saying the lines, which is when he's trying to calm the crowds. So I was there to see him saying the line over and over again, but it was just so bonkers seeing him perform as an actor. And I was just like, it was overwhelming and underwhelming at the same time, because you think about these things being so like insane, but then when you are in it you don't feel it. So probably I'm gonna feel it when I'm gonna watch, because I'm waiting for my husband to come home today so we can watch the episode. Once again, 0 Day limited series on Netflix. Okay. um Now, another thing that I also want to talk about. So this is just going to be a half an hour episode. I'm not going to make it 1 hour of talking and so on, I don't think. So another thing that I wanted to talk is that for the last, I can't even say 5 years anymore. I think it's going like almost 10 years now. I have been seriously thinking that I want to publish something, and I have managed to publish nothing, and I have managed to finish writing nothing. Um, and so now I over edited. If for whoever is into writing, they probably know that sometimes you get a threshold in which you don't know how to stop anymore. So I have mentioned this before on the podcast, that I was working on children's book, and I have one children's book that was ready kind of, and I over edited now, so now I need to go back to it. And then I have, and that was supposed to be part of a trilogy, and then I have another idea of a series, um, in which I just basically have the just the main ideas put on paper. So I'm going to be a little bit more proactive in trying to know. Probably I need to invest in hiring an editor, because that would probably help me in, other than just being in this loop of editing and over editing and so on, to move forward and do something more. So let's see, because I have mentioned this before and I know that I haven't done anything with it. And so with that, we will see. And another thing that I want to mention is that starting next week, I'm going to be doing a program. I'm going to join a program. I don't want to talk too much about it, because I want to have a full on episode about it after I'm graduating. It's going to be a program from for 3 weeks, from Monday to Friday. So I'm gonna get quite busy, and I want to talk about it at the end, in which hopefully that's going to give me extra skills so I can be managing to be more like a bigger asset on in film production. And I'm hoping maybe probably for film festivals as well. Now, for whoever watched me in December to drink tea, they probably remember this cup. I am finally admitting how much I love penguins. For those who don't know, I actually have a dolphin tattoo on my back. And I was actually talking about, should I now get a penguin tattoo? Maybe. Um, I'm drinking now the tea. This is so funny. So the Christmas, as I mentioned before, I mentioned in December, our Christmas holiday was spent in Florida, where my husband's family, most of my husband's family lives. And it's very funny because I received like a Disney, um, uh, I think Winnie the Pooh kind of a tea uh, set. And it's so funny because I still have the teas. I still have the teas from when I was doing one tea per day back in December. I was trying to have kind of like a vlogmas, but it didn't work out too well. In which I was giving notes to the tea and all that. But it's funny because I received even more tea for Christmas. So now I have so much tea that I have to go through. It's just crazy. So I just wanted to mention that for whoever was watching me back in December having all of the tea. So that being said, I'm going to try to have podcasts recorded every 2 weeks, but I'm going to finally go to Romania. So I haven't been to Romania since July 2022. And this year is going to be the 20th anniversary, 20 years since I graduated high school, which is insane to me. 20 years since I graduated high school. And I just realized that I never turned on the light. Jesus, I'm all over the place. You know what? I have to get back into it. Slowly and surely it's going to happen. So I'm going to Romania and I'm so excited. So I'm gonna try to record podcast episodes as well during that time because I do want to talk about the reunion of 20, even though my colleagues might listen to it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not. Um, and I want to talk about the fact that I'm going to still be working for Transylvania International Film Festival. And this time around, I'm going to actually go in person. So hopefully, I will have time to watch some movies. And I do want to talk about some of the movies that I will be watching. I usually like to watch documentaries because it's something that I don't necessarily see in cinemas on a regular basis. And I'm not watching it at home either. But we will see. I am so I'm so excited. My summer looks to be quite busy because I'm going to Romania, and then I'm hoping that my husband will be able to also join me, and we will do a bit of exploring or traveling. We will see. That's still to be settled later on. And after I finish the program from the program that I mentioned that is going to end somewhere mid March. My birthday is literally from now in a month. So for my birthday, we're gonna go away. For the last 2 years, my birthday was so and so. So this time around, we're gonna go away. So stay tuned for me to tell you because it's one of the most expensive trips that I ever booked ever, and I'm gonna tell you all about it and how much remorse I have in me booking that trip. I don't know how people can spend more than they make because it's not that we're spending more than we make because we can afford it, but it's still like not sitting well with me how expensive this trip is going to be. Um, and then in April we're gonna go to Antigua. So there's going stay with me because I'm gonna tell you all sort of things from the travels. I'm gonna record shorts that I'm gonna post them on YouTube, and maybe hopefully eventually at some point this year I'm gonna go back into writing about my trips. Um, so I have you with the audio, with the video, and with the writing, which is also technically it's audio, right? Um, so yeah, stay tuned for that. So that's it for now. I just wanted to reintroduce myself and tell you what are the plans. As soon as I'm going, I would love to start having guests and I would love to start being a guest again on other podcasts. But as I'm not able to do that right now because the internet is not always on my side, I decided that I'm open to having guests again, but probably most likely I will be. leaving that for later on. So maybe after end of the summer, when we're gonna move, depending where we move, uh, I will have to see about that. So again, thank you for everyone who will join me later. And yes, so I'm going to try to put episodes once again every 2 weeks. So until next time, always, always, always very grateful for those who are listening. And l- I know it's kind of a cliche, but stay safe out there. And yeah, follow me on all of the channels as I already mentioned. I'm trying to see where are there we go, the outro. So yes, thank you for joining, everybody. This concludes today's episode. Thank you for listening and for reviewing Traveling Inside Out. If you want to get in touch with me, send an email to podcast@alinaigrad.com. And remember, your outer journey begins with inner work. Until next time, bye.